Hey everybody, and thanks for viewing Shabby Chic Mama. Today I'm taking this beautiful telephone table and going to give it a shabby chic French provincial look. I absolutely love the detail of this beautiful old table, and I'm going to use the method of chalk paint as well as using chalk paint as fabric paint. I'll be painting the fabric and I'll take you through step by step on how I do that. So let's get started and I'll show you what products I'll be using. So today I'll be using a Porter's Original chalk-like paint. Now I use these quite a lot on a lot of my projects. If you're into chalk paint, you'll realise that here in Australia any Sloan chalk paint is really hard to come by unless you order it online. I found that if you go into any inspiration store here in Australia, they have the Porter's Original chalk emulsion paint, which works just as good as any Sloan and comes in a variety of colours. The two colours I'll be using today, the colour Lamb's Wool, it's a light off-white type colour, as well as I did ask them to colour match a Dulux colour. And the Dulux colour that I have on my walls is called Toffee Fingers. So I asked them to colour match that into chalk paint for me, which they've done. And I've used it on so many other projects and it is just a beautiful colour. You'll also need a spray bottle today, which full of water, which we're using that to use on the fabric. And also I'll be stenciling a French graphic onto the piece today. Now I have a number of stencils that I just purchased off eBay, and I'm probably going to be going for either this one or possibly this one, the patisserie one, but I'll make that decision as I go along. So keep watching and I'll take you through step by step on how we go about transforming this beautiful telephone table. You'll also be needing today a good quality paintbrush, and I tend to use on most of my projects a small roller like this one, and I just find that the roller does tend to give a more professional finish, but it's up to yourself whether you choose to use the roller or the brush. I'll be using both today, using the brush especially for cutting. So to start with today, I'm basically just going to paint all the woodwork in the lamb's wool colour, and I'm going to let that dry, give it a second coat, and then we're going to start on the fabric paint. So just keep watching and I'll take you through. I'm just going to grab some of the lamb's wool on your roller, and I'll just start from the very top. The thing I love about chalk paint is there's no undercoat, no priming involved, just a clean wipe down on old furniture and start painting straight over the top. It's a really quite thick paint, chalk paint, and that's why I love it so much. So, you know, some of the projects you could get away with one coat. I just prefer to do two, but that's how good a quality paint it is the fact that it's really nice and thick and has a really good consistency. Okay, so the first coat has gone on. I'm really happy how it has absorbed. It's actually a rainy day here today, so I was hoping that the temperature in the air would be a little bit warmer than it is right now, but that's the beauty of chalk paint. It sticks to anything, so far so good. First coat done, just going to let that dry and then we'll start on the second coat. Okay, so I've just done the second coat. I'm just going to let that dry. And I'm just going to go over and prepare now for the fabric paint. So basically what we're going to do with the fabric is this particular piece is a it's almost a corduroy-like fabric. So with the chalk paint, it needs to be diluted so that it'll go on nice and smooth and give a smooth finish. So I'll just take you over and we will prepare the chalk paint for the fabric. Okay, so what you're basically going to need, it's just a small container. And what I've done is I've just added the Toffee Fingers chalk paint into the container. I've done probably a half a cupful. And what you want to do is just dilute it down slightly with some water. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of water to water it down so it'll be a milky-like consistency. And then I'll just get my brush and I'll stir it through. So basically when you're mixing this, it's probably 2 parts paint and 1 part water. Then you're going to need your trusty spray bottle with water inside, and this is also going to help us to wet the fabric so that the paint can go on easily. So let's just get started. Okay, so what you need to do is just grab your water bottle, and I'm going to start at the bottom, and we're just going to start by saturating the fabric that you're starting from. So I'm only going to do a small piece at a time, and then keep going like that. So just grabbing the paint, you just do crisscross method. I tend to find that it'll go on easier, especially like the corduroy fabric. It'll soak up a lot easier when you put the brown paint on. So I just go along the areas that I'm wet with the water bottle. Okay, so I've just popped on the first coat of the fabric paint. Now I will just let you know that depending on your project's fabric, for example this one is like a corduroy type fabric, it's going to soak up the paint quite quickly. So it will take maybe 4 to 5 coats to get your desired effect. So this is the first coat. Obviously it's just took the very hint of orange away from the original fabric. But what I'm going to do is just let it dry and come back for a second coat and just repeat the steps probably 3 to 4 times and see what I end up with from there. So here it is guys. I've now done the third coat onto the fabric. You can see it's starting to definitely give that brown effect. It's been really rainy and cold weather in the last couple of days here as I've been working on this project. So I'm giving it extra time over the week to dry before I make the decision on whether or not it needs another coat. But I'm quite impressed with how it took to the corduroy fabric. So I'm still going to possibly do another coat, and I'm just going to touch up some areas again with the white, and then we'll move on to stenciling. So now it's time for me to transfer my stencil onto my piece. I've chosen to use the Cafe Paris one. This one actually turns out really nicely on most of my projects, so I tend to be drawn to this particular one. So I'm just going to place it on top, and I'll just position it into the middle, and I've got some masking tape from a previous project that'll just secure it in place. And what I tend to do, a lot of people use stencils, they have like a stencil brush and they dab, but I found a quicker method is by using my roller. So I'll use my roller with the minimal amount of paint on it so nothing bleeds, and I find that that actually works really well for me, and it also takes away a lot of the time. So just keep watching and I'll show you how we go about doing that. I'll also be using a second stencil. I have this lovely Paris one, and I've decided that I will be putting the word Paris on the side of the table. Now obviously the whole stencil won't fit, but my main aim is just to get the letters Paris on the side. Now I've chosen to use a different colour for the stenciling. This is another chalk paint by Porter's, and it's the colour Cool Blue. It's a very pretty French blue, and I'm taking the minimal amount of paint which I'm going to place onto my roller to roll the stencil. So let's get started and we'll see how it turns out. A roller, and I'll be placing the roller just very gently across the stencil, making sure you're picking up everywhere and making sure that the stencil is not going to bleed because there's too much paint on it, on the roller. So just bear in mind, be very mindful of that when you're popping the stencil. Painting with the Paris one, bear in mind that we're not going to paint the entire stencil. I'm just going to be painting the words Paris. So I'm going to press on it with my finger. So here it is, guys. I've finally finished. I am so happy with the way that this project's come, especially with the lovely fabric paint and how it brought this beautiful piece back to life. I was really impressed with the finish of the chalk paint. My only possible tip would be, in terms of the stenciling, I did choose the lovely French blue, but for it to pop a little bit more, I'd probably, if I had my time over, go in and do it in possibly black for it to stand out just that little bit more. But overall, I'm really impressed with how this lovely piece has gone. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see some more, and have a wonderful day.